Poetry is like the mother of all writing forms. Shakespeare was a poet. The most renowned poet of India is Ghalib, a poet. And Sarojini Naidu was a poet. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was a poet. So poetry is very, very fundamental to all writing forms. And I felt that even then, when you look at publishing books, and poetry is not even number two or number four, it's like number 10 in the chart of a publisher. So so very few people publish poetry with honesty, or with the view to publish new poets. And Poets Choice is one such label, and they've published lots and lots of books. So I just felt I should come and meet Akshay. Akshay Sonthalia is the publisher, and he runs the label. So Akshay, I think we'll have a great time telling readers, telling watchers, telling audience why poetry publishing.
So this is my latest release as a author, Sparks Before the Fire. Hello everyone, my name is Akshay Sonthalia and I am the founder of Poets Choice and Free Spirit LLC.
Akshay, what comes to my mind? See, you had so many options in life, and you still chose poetry.
Amongst the options in life that I pursued, let me get there first. I experienced and tried multi-level marketing at one time, and uske baad then I started to try my hands with eBay and online selling through Amazon seller or central, I would say, and literally sell at that time online. Then I also had this thing about music. I was very into music, and so much so I am very professional with my keyboard. I have done a course also in music till the 5th grade of Trinity College of Music. So there was a lot of things that I pursued in life.
This is one natural theme. I feel that many people forget that to build something successful, sustainable, uh, even what one wants to do, one arrives at that with rather a lot of trial and error. Akshay, let's go back to your background. Let's go back to your early days, school, college, and life leading up to poetry.
So I grew up, Tarun, seeing and making a lot of observations. I I was separated from my best friend when I was 6 years old. I was so close to that friend, and then all of a sudden we had to, because I moved homes. Then my friends who I made when I moved home over here would always envy, no matter what I did to make them see that equality, there was always an envy in the underscore you can say,
Underlying.
underneath. Then I even with family I would see lot of quarrels happening. The quarrel was just simply unresolvable no matter what. And then in school there was competition, even the teachers would promote it. Instead, I was shocked to see that the teachers would not promote a unity of the class. They would be promoting this person won, this person was last. This is the kind of conversations I would hear in this staff room of the schools that the teachers would be having and enjoying. And even in class, they would try to do that. So, the bottom line here, Tarun, is it set the grounds for my pursuit or my career, which I wanted to change. I wanted to make this improvement which I was seeing was lacking, and nobody around me was noticing that this is happening. And that was the degeneration of human values versus money. People were weighing money over everything in life. The definition of value was becoming how the numerical measure of money instead of human values, ethics, emotions, compassion for one another, love, caring for one another, unity and community building, that all those things had simply dissipated. Everybody wanted to become an all-rounder, that I am good in everything. And that is what money was doing.
And because
to
of your
people.
privileged background, you are the subject of envy. Okay, he has more than us.
So I could not even contradict that because that was
You
the
already
reality.
had what people wanted.
At the same time, I could not make them see that despite me having it, it isn't so significant to aim in life to be monetarily
Just to
as
be rich.
equal as I am. It is more important for people to
Have
have
value.
human values and love for one another. So this set the premise where for my search for a vocation. So even despite me having discovered and pursued different career options, it never really triggered an interest in me because they were all against the message that I wanted to go and put across to people, that human values weigh heavier than money.
And you chose to give it a positive outlet through poetry. How did poetry come about?
So
Is
yes,
the
so yeah, so that reached that reached a particular point where I didn't have anybody whom I could express my feelings or thoughts to. There came a time when money became so predominant in everybody's life that they didn't have time for one another at all. So then I resorted to writing my thoughts and emotions down on pen and paper, so that at least, let's say, the universe can listen to what I wanted to say and maybe respond back. Some of us do say that the universe responds to us. So that is how I found my solace, and that is how I started my journey in poetry,
poetry.
where I started writing poems one after the other, expressing myself.
And then, when did you first put out a poem in any form? Was it an open mic? Was it a reading amongst friends? Was it a putting out in the books? How did it go from paper to somewhere?
So the first time there was a school magazine that published a poem that I had written about what harshness that people face some people face in school. So yeah, that was the first time, and they published it in their school magazine. Then social media happened back in 2007 or 8. There was a platform which had come, orkut.com, and over there I found fellow writers who would also be penning down poems. And one day, all of us, I took the initiative that okay, I'll publish your work. And that was in 2010. I published my first collection of poems by a multitude of writers. Thereon, the journey kept growing. I had a director of a school, Guru Hari Kishan School in Mumbai. The director of the school, Dr. Lagbir Verma, published her poetry book Her book is called Reminiscing, and it was published in her school, high school, Guru Krishan High School, Guru Hari Krishan High School. There are different, that is why I'm specifying. Then I had a teacher who had taught me in my school days, who had turned principal for a school, Rizvi School, Springfield High School, called me for a poetry workshop, which was actually a part of the British Council festival of the school. So I had done a poetry workshop there in their school. Then recently in 2023, I was called as a guest judge for a poetry contest they had done in their season, college festival.
How many books did you publish this year? Let's keep switching on from back, middle, and forward. And today, see, you have been publishing a lot of books. How many books in last 1 year?
So let me tell you overall so far what I have published. I have published 46 single author poetry books, and I have published 17 single author novels. There are 2 series that I have published, which is one is a trilogy of an Australian writer, and one is a quadrilogy, that is a 4-book series of an American writer.
And then, what about poetry collections of various authors, and how many are they? Like,
Yes, good you asked me. So there are 98 poetry anthologies I have published till today, and more than 50 short story collections that are being published.
so overall, 250 would be the approx number of books you have published.
Correct.
Beginning with 2010, that first book. And
So I also have translations of a book in 4 languages.
And how is the pace? Like, usually I can see a pattern in many businesses or any startups that you begin with low volume, like one book or one something in 2 years, then one something after some years. Slowly, the pace becomes very, very quick. Like, the pace just explodes. So you went through, which was the milestone year for you? Okay, now we are publishing a lot of books.
I don't weigh my progress by the number of publications I am doing, but the quality of work that I am generating and the opportunities that I am giving to writers and poets out there. There are so many writers across the world today who tell me that it is your publication who did publish my first book, and I am proud of it, and I feel very happy to have published with you.
I think one of the things that we can take away from what Akshay has been talking about is that, one reason why should you start off on your own on any kind of entrepreneurship work is that it helps you to fulfill the gap which you see in society. Here is an example of of Akshay's example, that yes, what you see lacking in the world around you, and
So
that
Tarun,
you can do on your own.
let me get on the similar line of what you are coming to. See, my journey had started with human values of making people realize the value of human values over monetary value, and I have managed to at least set a milestone that human values knows no country borders, knows no language, knows no color.
Human beings are the same all over the world.
Human beings are one world family, is what has been established when it comes to human values and expression of one's emotions. It is the same.
Because they published poets from across the world, right? How many countries are represented? Roughly maybe 24. It's very interesting that he has, sitting in India, sitting in Bombay, he basically publishes poets and authors primarily from Europe and US, right?
I mostly publish writers from USA and Europe, but that is because I get
Huh.
people upfront from US and Europe more
Like upfront.
than other
Yeah, I
countries,
mean
but it
it's
isn't
open
that
for all.
I am choosing them.
It's open for all, but it's the US folks and the European folks who have responded more eagerly
More.
to your calls for poetry publishing, story publishing.
Yes, I
And
have writers from South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Tanzania, and I have from Asian countries like South Korea, Japan, Singapore, and China. Recently, a Chinese writer was in conversation with me that I'd like to,
yeah, it's very
but
interesting.
then it's not materialized anything.
Mm.
Then Australia, of course, I already shared.
Very interesting. So that's how the power of technology also works. That sitting in India, you can engage with the world around you I mean, across the world. Akshay, one question that comes to my mind is when you how do you deal with the publishing world as such? Like, on one hand, we have your poetry, the expression of the unexpressed parts of life. Then you are a publisher now, right? And when you are a publisher, you belong to the world of other publishers. And when you look at other publishers, or predominantly, most publishers, they don't do poetry publishing, and they don't publish short stories as a priority. For them, the highest priority is novel, non-fiction, because that sells for them. They look for branded authors. That's their main interest in life, right? And are you not tempted that, okay, yeah, poetry is fine, short story is fine, why not publish well-known authors somehow, or why not publish only novels? Are you tempted to walk that path?
I think the bigger achievement will be to publish a non-entity author and make him a somebody. And I have managed to do that for a lot of authors who have published with me today.
And it's a very thankless job, and I feel that it is very important as well. A publisher in general chases two things: either the author is famous or the subject is famous. And when you are not one of the two, you are you are left alone in the publishing world. And Akshay seeks those authors out, and he makes it work for them. Open mic poetry, like you organized open mic poetry, open mics and all. And how important has it been to your life?
It was a learning experience. Open mic poetry is like you are just throwing a coin into the well. It's like that. Basically, the well is the number of poets who are performing, and the coin is what each poet comes out and performs on the stage. So then when there is an audience coming to listen to those poets, sometimes the coin gets picked up, and it's it gets
Sometimes
the limelight which it has been praying for. So that is the kind of environment what an open mic poetry is meant to be. However, like I initially shared, that my goal was promoting human values of compassion for one another, feeling happy amongst one another. That is what brought me to maybe find others who were writing like I was writing and get to know them. And that is where I ended up connecting with other people who could make that happen for me. And then I hosted open mic poetry events at Andheri base and Bandra base here in Mumbai. And
Whistling Woods, right?
that's
So
right.
what is your association with Whistling Woods?
I am their ex-student basically. That's all that is there. I had pursued acting course with them in 2012. Yes, that's.
So Whistling Woods.
We also did co-organized events together, Tarun,
Yeah.
through your organization Icon Business Forum.
Yes. Yes.
And we also did an co-organized with Bombay
Art Club.
Art Club, Bombay Art Club.
Many other organizations. You had a venue which we used to, where we used to host our stuff. So that's so I find Akshay's journey very interesting. You know, the pace of book publishing has, you know, hit the sky, and it's a very I the most important takeaway from Akshay's life to me is that, you know, India needs entrepreneurs who strike at the core of, you know, human compassion and human values, because if it is when we look at other countries, how is India distinct? Because it's known for being an example of Vasudev Kutum, and that's what Akshay has tried to do, and I feel that that's why he's a soldier of our economy, soldier of our nation, and we need to support his work. So Akshay, that's a very, you know, fantastic opportunity
Actually,
you have created for yourself and others.
the people are getting so self-centered, making money so prominent for themselves in their lives. They don't realize that even mental illness, which is prevalent today,
Is
is is somewhere down the line contributed by this their drive for earning money.
more and more.
I was so against this thought that I had done a study where what is the history of money and the exchange medium, and you will be surprised, that money was the least significant factor uh, governing human society back then, a little time back, not too long back. And it was then that people were more happier living together, feeling for one another, caring for one another, doing things for one another. Now today, when everybody has to become an all-rounder, obviously there is going to be some kind of mental illness people will face. Why? Because everybody has some flaw, some limitation. And if there is nobody to understand that they have this limitation, instead they are attacked of that limitation or that flaw which is there in them, then obviously that person is going to resort to I must be having something. So
Yeah,
that is very common today. Everybody, almost the third person is taking
and in that
some medication for
and
this kind of. That is absolutely nonsense. I
not
find what is
there are
going
lots of
on.
outlets when we are looking at mental illness. There are so many outlets, and you have to go for a more positive outlet, and poetry is a much more positive outlet than so many other things that people try, right from drugs to drinks to whatever else. You have done 200 odd books, and we can't feature all the books and the authors over here, but we can surely get a taste of the books you've published.
Okay.
So let's go over through some of them.
Okay, so I chose a few just to give my audience an idea. These books, as you can see, are the international languages that I have published. These are all 4 poetry books. So this is an Italian poems, German poems, Spanish poems, French poems. These are the 4 languages we have covered.
And all of different and
They are
cover-
anthologies.
so
They are
they are-
poetry book anthologies, or they are all poetry books. Then I have a collection of short stories that are themed around mistakes people make. So the first in the series was It Was a Mistake. Then we published This Was a Mistake. And the last one was What a Mistake. So mistakes is a human quality, and people refrain from sharing that okay, we have made a mistake. So this book is the special aspect about this book, that people are actually writing about what mistakes they made and what others who read this can learn from it. Then this is themed around business stories, some business stories that we have published. This is more specific to startups, business stories. This is a collection of business stories of entrepreneurs and otherwise corporates. And finally, I'll come to these books. These are few titles of single author poetry books. So this author I had published had a turbulent childhood in an environment of alcoholism, abuse. So she has written a book about that.
Diane Brally, Unheard Whispers.
Lucas Carpenter of Mother Medusa is a lawyer by profession, but he had hearing issues. So I would not be able to speak to him because he could not hear me. I would have to write to him and try to have somebody who could hear, communicate what I would want to say. But then we managed to do this book. This fellow writer is become a dear friend of mine. He is a professor for New York University, and his wife is also published with me, where
Mr. Late,
Eugene Stelzig.
Okay.
Yes, and this is an author who is autistic. Sunlight Reflector by Sarah Cross. So we do promote very special interests and special causes also. This writer, Whispers in the Wind, is by an author who suffers from epilepsy.
Eco Queen.
For those who do not know what epilepsy is, it is a neurological disorder where people get fits. This author is an American writer. Rocky Mountain Reflections is the name of the book. He recently did a launch in his city, and it was quite a good success. Especially, he got a little more compassionate recently. Before, he was a little haughty, and that transformation happened after a little accident that happened with him. And he's been promoting his book very dearly ever since. This is the only single author title from Singapore. Her name is Jamie Lim, and this book did not sell at all. This book has been printed and kept as it is with us. So sometimes what happens is some books that we publish do not sell at all, but we still do it.
It is important that it is there.
Yes.
So a very interesting variety of titles and approach to publishing. What about your own books and poems? Can't we have a poem? Can't we have you recite a poem?
The poem that I want to recite today, it's titled Walk Into My Heart. This poem, Walk Into My Heart, I had written for a local tabloid of the Dehradun street. It's a newspaper, e-newspaper that was published in Dehradun. So the title is Walk Into My Heart. Walk into my heart, O Radhe, where the confluence of rivers acquires that freshness which is only found in Allahabad otherwise. Walk into my heart, O lady, where the warring mortals of Mahabharat gained refuge from strife, healing those scars with the warmth of my wisdom, with peace, which is only found in Pandava caves of Rishikesh otherwise. Walk into my heart, O my lady, where you can set aside those binding principles of duty, where the playfulness touches zenith, turning soon into boredom, which is only found in a Jyotirling otherwise. Walk into my heart, O Maya, where the seeds of gun and avguns are sown by perception, where each struggles to survive, pursuing absolution, not realizing that they exist because of each other, which is only found in the sixth sense of a true yogi otherwise. Walk into my heart, O Lakshmi, where purpose and desire are your children, where one destination sets the course for the next upon completion, which is only found in a yagya or on the moon otherwise. Thank you.
How do authors approach Poet's Choice?
At Poet's Choice, we are publishers, and there is a confusion regarding the type of offers a publisher make to writers. Firstly, before I share the difference, I want to say there is no such thing which is being promoted by with the biggies. We do traditional publishing, which basically means that there are investors behind us who are taking care of the investment required for making the book happen. And then there is a hybrid publishing, in which it means that the investment is shared by the author
and Poet's Choice
and the investors. So, frankly, it is a very wrong perception that is there in the minds of authors that traditional publishing is the publishing, the right kind of publishing, and the other type is not publishing. That is something which I want to clarify, that there is no such thing. It is only basically a matter of the monetary investment behind the scene, which is being discussed and which is being dealt with in the manner of the agreement between both the publisher and the writer. It's going to be the end. The whole process otherwise is exactly the same how it is generally otherwise.
And how do people submit poems and short stories to be part of anthology?
They can find submission calls on our website, that is poetschoice.in, or else they can find us online. We are there on social media handles like Instagram is Poet's Choice, and online if they just type Poet's Choice, they'll find the way of how they can submit.
Yeah, I think a website is good enough. It has all the information that is required.
Yes.
And okay, so as I understand, there are lots of publishing going on in poetry anthology and short story anthology. So if somebody submits in one collection, they don't find space, they can try the next publication, they may find space in that, right? That must be happening quite often.
Yes, because the process of reviewing and curation, what is the technical term is curation, is such that sometimes the writing works of writers who are really good what they have written has to be rejected because there is something which is not up to the mark.
Fitting,
Fit.
Yeah, they may not be in the right topic, there may be too many submissions, the competition may be high for some anthologies, or
It is not the competition, like I have been saying from the very beginning. My focus is to bring humanitarian practices. It is more so that that space has already been taken, and we do not have a particular space for that poem, or sometimes it is out of
topic,
context.
that brief is not followed.
Yes.
So, Akshay, tell me about what are the current plans in Poet's Choice, what are the future plans, and what's your dream plan next year?
Firstly, I want to share and add that the publishing industry is widely evolving and changing. Earlier on, the publishing world only revolved around bookstores and chain bookstores where the books would be sold and displayed. But now, the distribution of your books is much wider and it has a much vast opportunity scope which possibly cannot be determined before we read the book. It is a very important aspect because there is something known as D2C, which is being talked about in the publishing world, that stands for direct to consumer. So nowadays, even the publisher is directly reaching out the book to the reader, where before it wasn't so. It's a obsolete concept where it was there had to be someone as the middleman, which still continues to a certain extent. And so, with the evolving trend of publishing industry, there are upgrades and developments that we are also doing. So the developments that we are doing right now is that we have audiobooks coming out very soon. A few of the audiobooks that are launched today are just another minute, just a minute, and there is one Tides of Change. These are few of our audiobooks that are already available on our website. We have launched and created a audiobook section on our website, and then we are also proposing to get into the film medium, wherein we can take the rights from our authors and make the short stories that are there in our anthologies as a story for the films, and maybe even novels, the whole full novels that are there, full. And except that we are also,
I think that we will never be short of plans for our future and present. So I think
no, there is one more thing I am forgetting. The developments that we are doing right now.
What were we discussing? I think we discussed film medium, film adaptation. We discussed
Yes, there is one more thing I am forgetting.
Distribution adaptation, distribution strategies which will keep changing.
No.
And audiobooks we've discussed. Now you're releasing them very soon. So
no, I'm not remembering now. We'll come back to that.
We will come back to that in the next interview for sure.
Yeah.
So I think see, poetry is a very deeply connected to all of us, and we can never run out of a conversation on poetry publishing. So
yes, I remembered. So we have started doing illustrated children's books, which is a new genre added to our books, because it has illustrators who are designing illustrations inside our books, which earlier on we were not dealing and doing. It's a whole new world out there. It opens up possibilities of making animation films of our illustrated children's book, and we already have editors who are working for us, designers from all over the world like Serbia, London, UK, USA, Germany, Spain, and editors from India. Even you are one of our editors.
Yes,
And
it's been great to read
yes.
works of writers from across the world, and there is so much to learn from how they write, and especially these European writers. I'm amazed at their how they cover nuances in their writing.
The whole idea
Students
is
Hustle
that
is
human
especially
values.
one title I would recommend is Students Hustle. It has a variety of writers, and it's just amazing to read those stories.
Okay. But the idea behind my publication, where there are more than 110 countries from whom we are publishing books today, is that human values and emotions are universally same
Yeah.
everywhere. And that is the idea behind my concept idea behind why I started doing this
Great.
work, which is to promote human emotions, values, more relatability between people.
Across the world.
Yes, across the world, because that is the need of the hour today.
Yes. In the divided world, we have to find out how we can unify.
Especially
Like-
in a
like
world
you-
where there is phone.
like
A person can just get lost in his own phone today, and they forget that there are people sitting next to them. That is how bad the situation has gone today, where people need to connect and relate with one another. That is my idea behind getting people.
Behind the wine, I think we go back to your student days when you said that students should try to unify rather than compete with each other, and the world is also facing the same. Instead of people fighting with each other, they should try to unify. So I think your message is very relevant today and afterwards. I think in one of the things that I want to end the conversation, which can't be ended in a way.
One of the things that I want to add before you do an ending note is we are in the midst of publishing an author who runs a school in Mumbai for the underprivileged. The book launch is probably going to happen we are trying to, at Rashtrapati Bhavan, New Delhi. But this is something which we are looking forward
In the
to
near future.
in the near future. And wishing everybody a very happy 2025.
वो अनकही रह गई बात सब बातों के बाद फैज़ अहमद फैज़ की एक लाइन याद आती है कि जब हम पोइट्री के बारे में बात करते हैं तो देयर इज़ एन एंडलेस डिस्कशन एंड through Poet's Choice we have covered just a very small aspect of poetry publishing. Poetry publishing remains a very, very sore point, and conversation around that is very, very important. Without fixing poetry publishing, we will not be able to discover the next Khalil Gibran. We won't be able to discover Ghalib. We won't be able to discover Shakespeare. So I feel that we had a very important conversation, and log into poetschoice.in to discover their works. Thank you.